Well, one thing that I've asked you to do repeatedly as we go through the different chapters and the different areas of philosophy in this book and in this class is to think of philosophy primarily in terms of problems. Um, I think that again, I have to say that the takeaway from a class like this, I think, hopefully, is a grasp of what the problems are. That is something that you have if you've done what I've asked you to do in this class, is to have a grasp of what these problems are. And in terms of what that means to grasp the problem, it means to grasp what leads to the problem, what makes something a problem. We've seen that in different areas of philosophy, and I think that we can see it in this chapter, the world. What is the problem? What creates the problem? I have a suggestion. I mean, one way to think about it, and the idea of a problem, a philosophical problem, again, is that we have fundamental intuitions about the world or something that clash, that are incompatible with each other, and we want to preserve them both, but we're trying to figure out ways to do that. We saw the classic one again is the problem of free will, but here we have, I think, a similar situation where we have certain intuitions about the way the world is, and then perhaps certain discoveries upon reflection that question those intuitions. And what is the problem here? Well, the first intuition is we all sort of believe that we live in a world of things. And usually we don't think on that general, highly abstract level of things. But we do believe, if we think about it, I think most of us, upon reflection, would say that I take it for granted that I live in a world of things. In a way, I am a kind of a thing, of a strange sort, right? Mind, body. How do those two things relate? We've been through that. But that I am a thing of a sort, but that more importantly, or more prominently, that I'm surrounded by things, that I am in contact with things, that I observe things, and that I know about things. So that's the one side of it, the first belief or commitment or intuition, deeply entrenched intuition, that we live in a world of things. What makes that a problem? What makes that problematic? Well, it only becomes problematic if we follow some of the reasoning of people like Descartes and Locke and Berkeley and Hume, who either believe or at least raise the possibility that none of us has ever experienced a thing, which is the more difficult thing to understand, I guess. I mean, but think about what we've been through in this chapter. The notion that, well, at least when it comes to physical objects, the sort of seemingly most easy to understand form of thing out there is that my contact with physical objects is seemingly in the sensations that I have, the perceptions I have, the ideas that I have, which are all subjective things, qualities of my mind rather than of the thing, and that those are, can be considered and really are entirely subjective qualities of my mind or my body, one might say, depending on how you think about it. And that I have an idea that those sensations, like color and taste and tactile sensations, are caused by things that are independent of me, which have an independent existence from me, and which do not depend upon my mind or my senses in order to exist. Yet I only know them, these philosophers might say, some of them, through those or because of those subjective qualities or subjective experiences that those things cause in me. However, that notion that there are independently existing objects or things in the world which cause these subjective impressions in me is an inference that I make. That is, you might say that I believe that it's logically demanded that if I'm having sensations or perceptions, that they are the sensations and perceptions of something, or at least that are caused by something that is not me. However, that is a logical inference. It is not something I directly experience. And some people may say it's a logical inference. That is, if I say that I have subjective impressions that are caused in me, there must be a cause of them. Some people would say it's just a guess or an assumption rather than something which has any basis. That I'm simply making the wild assertion that the world is composed of independent objects that cause these sensations in me. A lot of the argument in the middle part of this chapter is about this distinction between primary and secondary qualities. I think everyone so far that we've read has agreed that secondary qualities are what Galileo said about them. He said of them that if the living creature were removed, all these qualities would be wiped away and annihilated, which is a way of saying that they have only a subjective existence as mental phenomena, not an objective existence independent of a perceiving mind. So everybody sort of agrees, I think, with that the secondary qualities are not things out there in the world. Secondary qualities are things that are somehow, in a complicated way, in me, or in the interaction between me and the world. Which leaves, of course, primary qualities. But there's the rub. I mean, do we actually have any basis for thinking that we can reliably ascribe primary qualities to things in the world? One of the so-called primary qualities that's much discussed in the middle part of this chapter is solidity. That is, we believe that objects are solid, and that is an inherent, that they occupy space, and that they resist other things that try to occupy the space that they occupy, which is a feature of solidity. But how do we really know solidity? Don't we know solidity only through the secondary qualities that we perceive or seem to perceive in objects? Do we ever experience an object's solidity in and of itself, or is it merely an abstraction, or again an inference or a guess about what such objects might be like or could be like? So I think that one way to sort of try to put this stuff together is in that way. Think of our view of the world in these problematic terms, or what is the problem of the world. On the one hand, I think that each one of us has a sort of pre-philosophical or pre-reflective view that the world is populated by things that are different from us, independent of us, that have their own fates, that don't disappear when we stop thinking about them, unlike our perceptions or sensations or ideas. On the other hand, it very well may be that none of us have ever really experienced a thing. The sort of most basic assumption we make about the world, that there are things. No one's ever experienced one. We don't seem to be able to have the grounds for establishing that there are things at all. And so if philosophy is composed of problems, and if that's one way to think about it, then this may be the most scandalous problem of them all.